My dear friend, before I tell you my story, let me introduce myself. My name is Lenora Whitfield, and I am 78 years old. I have lived most of my life on a quiet farm at the edge of a small town in Kansas, where the fields run wider than the eye can see, and the sky always feels like it is watching over you. I worked that land with my late husband for more than 40 years. He passed away 10 years ago, but the scent of the wheat fields still brings him back to me. I am here today, looking straight at you as if you were sitting right across from me, to tell you something important. Not just a story, but a warning wrapped in truth. I want you to hear me with your heart, because what happened to me could happen to any mother, any grandmother, any person who trusts too deeply. Before we begin, my dear friend, do me a little favor. If you love emotional stories that teach real lessons, go ahead and like this video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so you do not miss what comes next, because trust me, the things I am about to share will open your eyes. And please, in the comments, tell me which part of the country you are watching from. I want to feel who is here with me while I speak. Now let us begin. The day everything changed started like any other, or so I thought. I had just returned home after spending 3 months recovering in a rehabilitation center. My hip had given me trouble, and my son, Gideon, insisted that I stay there until I could move without slipping. At least, that is what he said. He spoke sweetly, but I should have listened to that little twist in my chest that told me something was off. Have you ever felt that, my dear friend? That strange whisper inside you that says, pay attention, something is not right. If you have, then you understand why my hands were trembling as I pushed open the door to my farmhouse. I expected to see dust on the shelves. I expected to see my rocking chair in the corner. I expected the old smell of wood and soil, the one that clings to a house built with love and hard work. But what I did not expect was a stranger standing in my living room. A young woman, maybe 30, hair tied tight, shoes too clean for a farm, phone in her hand like she belonged somewhere else. She looked at me as if I was the one trespassing. Can you imagine that? Standing inside your own home and being greeted like an intruder. I set my bag down slowly. My voice shook when I asked, "Who are you?" She gave me a thin smile. "My name is Leela, your daughter-in-law." My heart felt like it stopped. Gideon had been married before, but his wife passed years ago. This woman standing in my living room, with her perfect smile and cold eyes, was someone I had never met. I asked her where my son was. She shrugged in a way that made my stomach twist. "Oh, he is at work." And then she looked at me like she was deciding how soft to say the next part. "So, Lenora, I hope you understand that this house is ours now. Gideon sold it to me, the farm too, everything." The room started to spin. My farm. My home. My life. Sold. And not just sold, sold to her. I felt the floor move under my feet, like the earth itself was shaking its head at me. I held onto the door frame, trying not to fall. My voice barely came out. He sold my farm, he sold my home. She nodded, still wearing that small, cruel smile. "Yes, it is all in my name now, everything." My dear friend, if you had been there, what would you have done? Would you have screamed, cried, fainted? I stood there frozen, unable to breathe, unable to make sense of what my own child had done. Leela stepped closer and whispered something that I will never forget for as long as I live. "You should have stayed at the rehab center longer. We were not expecting you back so soon." "We." She said we. I realized then that this was not a mistake, not an accident. This was a betrayal planned step by step, and not by a stranger, by the son I raised with my own hands, the boy whose scraped knees I kissed, the man I trusted more than anyone on earth. In that moment, standing there with the truth pressing down on my chest, I felt something inside me crack, not break, No, breaking is final. This crack was the beginning of something else, something stronger, something sharper. Because if Gideon and his new wife thought that I would walk away quietly from the life I built, they did not know me at all. But before I could say one word, before I could even ask why he had done this to me, I heard a car pull up outside. Tires on gravel. Fast. Hard. I turned toward the window. A familiar truck door slammed. Heavy footsteps raced toward the porch. The front door swung open. And there he was. My son. Breathing hard. Face pale. Eyes wide like he had just been caught in the middle of something dark. Then he said words that made my blood run cold. "Mama, you were not supposed to come home today." My dear friend, let me take you back to that moment, because the way my son looked at me that day still haunts me. When Gideon stepped into that doorway, he froze the way a person freezes when they realize the truth has arrived earlier than their lies could prepare for. He stared at me as if I were a ghost who had walked in from the wheat fields. And maybe, in some way, I was. I had returned from a place he expected me to stay much longer, maybe long enough for my presence to stop mattering. Maybe long enough for the papers to dry and the bank accounts to shift and the locks to be changed without anyone asking questions. His voice cracked when he said, "Mama, you were not supposed to come home today." Not supposed to. Those words burned into me. My dear friend, have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you love and seen a stranger staring back? That is what I felt. Like the boy I raised was gone, and this man standing in front of me had been shaped by something colder, something greedier, something I never would have allowed into my home if I had known. I watched his eyes flick toward Leela, who was standing behind me with her arms folded and her lips curled like she was enjoying a private show. She tilted her head and said to him, "She knows." I told her everything. His face dropped. His shoulders sagged. His hand went to his forehead like someone had just handed him a burden he was not strong enough to hold. "Mama," he whispered, "it is complicated." I took a deep breath. My voice was shaking, but my spirit was not. "What did you do, Gideon? Why is she telling me my home is hers?" He opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again like a man drowning in his own guilt. Before he could speak, Leela jumped in. "We bought the farm fair and square. He needed the money. We needed a fresh start. This place was falling apart anyway." Her tone was so casual, so dismissive, that something hot rose in my chest. "Falling apart?" I asked. "This home was built with my hands. Your husband grew up here." She shrugged. "People grow up in old places all the time. That does not mean they have to stay tied to them forever. It is just land, dirt and wood and memories. Just land." To her, it was just land. To me, it was the life I carved out of hardship and prayer. I turned to my son. "Tell me the truth," I said. "Did you really sell my home? Did you really give it away without even asking me?" For a moment, a small flicker of the boy I once knew appeared on his face. The boy who ran through these hallways. The boy who used to hug me for no reason. The boy who promised me, "Mama, I will always take care of you." He took a step closer. "Mama, things were hard. I got behind on some bills, then more bills, and then the bank was sending letters. I panicked. Leela said she could help. She had savings. She knew people. She said the only way to keep everything from collapsing was to put the property in her name, at least for a while." For a while, not forever. That is what he said. But Leela let out a small laugh, quiet but sharp. "Tell her the rest, Gideon." I turned my head slowly. "The rest? What rest?" His shoulders wilted. His voice became a whisper. "Mama, the papers are permanent. The farm is legally hers." The room fell silent. Even the house seemed to hold its breath. "My dear friend, Do you know what it feels like when your heart does not break all at once, but in small, deliberate pieces? That was me. Each word carved another sliver of trust away. I steadied myself against the counter. My voice came out low. You sold my farm, the farm your father and I built, the farm we raised you on, to a woman I have never met, without even telling me. He closed his eyes. I was going to tell you. I just needed more time. I thought you would be in rehab longer. There it was again. The plan. The expectation that I would be gone long enough for them to take everything quietly. Leela crossed her arms and stepped forward. Look, you are making this harder than it needs to be. You are old. You should be thinking about rest, not farms. We can help you find a place, something small, maybe in a senior community. They have nice rooms, activities, nurses, the kind of environment someone your age should be in. Someone your age. A place. A room. A nurse. I stared at her. Are you suggesting I leave? Right now? She shrugged. Well, yes, we already made plans. Movers are coming tomorrow to clear out the things that need to go. What you want to keep can go with you to your new place. No need to fight this. It is done. My fingers tightened around the counter. Leela, my dear friend, had no idea that in all my years, no one had ever told me to get out of my own home. Not once. And she said it like she was telling me to pick a different coat from a closet. I looked back at my son. Gideon, do you agree with this? He rubbed his face again. Mama, please, it is only temporary. Let us get things sorted. Leela knows how to manage money better than me. She is trying to help. Help? She called stealing my life help. I stepped back. My eyes went from my son to the woman who now called herself my daughter-in-law, then back to my son again. My dear friend, if you were standing where I stood, what would you have done? Would you have fought? Would you have cried? Would you have slapped someone across the face? I had all those feelings boiling in me, but none of them found their way out. Instead, something else rose inside me, something old, something strong, something my husband used to call my steel spine. I looked at Leela and said, I'm not going anywhere today. Her smile faded just a little, but enough to satisfy a small corner of my soul. Then suddenly, before anyone could speak, a loud knock came at the door. 3 hard pounds. Vast. Urgent. Gideon jumped. His eyes widened again. Leela stiffened. The knocking came again, even louder this time. And then a voice shouted from the porch. Sheriff's Department, open the door. My dear friend, everything inside me went cold. Why would the sheriff be at my house? And more importantly, who called him? Let me take you into that moment, because the sound of that knock still echoes inside me. When the sheriff called out from the porch, the whole room changed. It felt like the air thickened, like even the walls leaned in to listen. I looked at Gideon, then at Leela, and I could tell immediately that they were not surprised by the sheriff's voice. They were scared of it. Gideon's face went white. Leela's eyes sharpened, calculating, the way a person looks when their plan is suddenly slipping through their fingers. My dear friend, you know that look. The look of someone who realizes their secret might be coming out sooner than they wanted. The knocking came again, harder this time. Sheriff's Department, open the door now. My heart was racing. I did not know if I should be relieved or terrified. Why was the sheriff here? To protect me? Or because of something my son had done? I stepped toward the door slowly, but before I could reach it, Leela grabbed my arm. Her grip was tighter than I expected. Her voice dropped to a low whisper that made my skin crawl. Do not say anything stupid. Do you understand? I stared at her hand on my arm. In all my years, no one had grabbed me like that. Not even the men who tried to scam me after my husband passed. Not even bill collectors who pushed their luck. Leela squeezed again. Do not make this more difficult. Gideon swallowed hard and stepped in front of me as if to block me from the door. He whispered fast, almost panicked. Mama, please, let me talk to them. Just let me handle this. Handle what, Gideon? I asked quietly. What did you do? He did not answer. Instead, he wiped his palms on his jeans and walked to the door with the steps of a man walking into a storm he knew he created. When he opened the door, the sheriff stood there in full uniform, hat in hand, face stern. His name was Sheriff Dalton, a man I had known for years. He had helped our town through floods, fires, even a tornado that tore through the east side 20 years back. He was the kind of man who spoke slow but saw everything. He nodded at Gideon, then looked past him at me. Afternoon, Miss Whitfield. I am glad to see you back on your feet. Before I could answer, Gideon cut in quickly. Sheriff, whatever this is, we can talk outside. Sheriff Dalton did not move. Instead, he pushed the door open further and stepped inside. No, Gideon, we will talk right here, all together. Leela's arms tightened across her chest. Her eyes narrowed as the sheriff walked in. She tried to smile, but her face looked stiff. Sheriff, is something wrong? He ignored her and turned to me. Miss Whitfield, we received a call from the rehabilitation center earlier today. They were checking on you. They said you left early this morning, signed out on your own, and they wanted confirmation that you arrived home safely. I nodded slowly. Yes, I left this morning. I did not want to stay one more day. The sheriff's eyes moved from me to Gideon and back again. The rehab center also told me something else. They said your son filed a concern last week. He told them you were showing signs of memory loss, confusion, forgetting important things. My mouth fell open. Memory loss? Confusion? My dear friend, let me tell you right now. My mind may be 78 years old, but it is sharp. Sharp enough to remember every lie spoken in that house. Leela jumped in immediately. Well, you know how it is at her age, Sheriff. We were worried. She was getting confused before she went in. She forgot dates. She misplaced things. It was getting dangerous for her to be alone. We needed help for her. Sheriff Dalton turned his head toward her slowly. His eyes settled on her like he was peeling back every layer of her words. Miss, I do not believe I asked you anything. Leela stiffened, her lips pressed together. He looked back at me. Miss Whitfield, I need to ask you this directly. Are you confused about anything regarding your home, your land, your decision-making? Has anyone pressured you to sign papers or give up ownership of anything? I took a deep breath. This was the moment when truth could step into the room and expose everything they had done behind my back. My dear friend, imagine standing there with the chance to speak up, to finally let someone help you. I felt tears push into my eyes. But before I could speak, Gideon said sharply, Sheriff, she is tired. She just got home. You do not need to question her like this. Dalton held up a hand. I will stop when I am satisfied she is safe, not when you say so. The room went silent. Even Leela stopped breathing for a second. The sheriff turned back to me gently. Miss Whitfield, please answer me. Do you know who owns this property right now? I opened my mouth. But Leela stepped in front of me and said loudly, she does not fully understand the paperwork. We are sorting things out. She gets confused and... Before she could finish her lie, Sheriff Dalton's voice cut through the air like a blade. Ma'am, step back. He said it with the tone of a man who had no patience left. Leela hesitated, then moved back with a glare sharp enough to slice through wood. Dalton turned toward me again. Miss Whitfield, please, tell me the truth. I looked at him, then at my son, then at Leela. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I whispered, I never sold my farm. I never gave permission. I never signed anything. I do not know what they did, but I did not agree to any of this. The sheriff nodded, as if he had expected that answer all along. Then he turned to Gideon. Son, I need you to explain why you filed a report saying your mother was mentally unfit when she clearly understands what is happening. Gideon swallowed hard. His voice shook. Sheriff, I can explain. I was overwhelmed. Bills were piling up. I panicked. I thought if the property was in safer hands, maybe. Safer hands. Dalton repeated slowly, raising an eyebrow. You mean your wife's hands? Leela stepped forward again. There is nothing wrong with me owning the property. We bought it legally. The sheriff reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded paper. Actually, ma'am, that is part of the problem. Someone at the courthouse flagged the transfer. It was rushed. Signatures questionable. A few details missing, enough to make us look deeper. Leela's face drained of color. That is ridiculous. Everything is legal. Dalton unfolded the paper and held it up. We will let the investigator decide that. This is a notice. Until we finish our review, the property is frozen. Nothing can be moved. Nothing can be sold. No one can be forced out. That includes Miss Whitfield. I let out a breath I did not know I had been holding. Frozen. That word felt like someone had handed me a small piece of my life back. But the sheriff was not done. He folded the paper and looked straight at Gideon. Son, I am giving you one chance to tell me everything. Did you forge your mother's signature? Gideon's mouth opened, closed, opened again. But before he could say a word, Leela shouted, You do not have to answer that. Dalton turned slowly toward her, his voice cold as winter. Ma'am, if you interrupt again, I will remove you from the room. Let him speak. Gideon looked at me. His eyes were filled with something between guilt and fear. Mama, he whispered, I was going to fix it before you came home. I was going to put it all back. Put it back. As if my life were a toy he borrowed without permission. I stepped forward. My voice trembled. Gideon, tell me the truth. Did you take my signature? Did you sign my name? He stared at the floor. His silence was the answer. My dear friend, you know that feeling when your heart sinks but your spine rises? That was me in that moment. My heart fell for the son I raised, but my backbone grew for the woman I still am. Sheriff Dalton sighed heavily. All right, here is what is going to happen. Miss Whitfield stays in this house. No one will remove her. No one will touch her things. There will be a full investigation into the transfer. And until we know the facts, both of you will remain available for questioning. Leela's voice rose. This is ridiculous. She is old. She is confused. She does not know what she is saying. Dalton looked her dead in the eye. The only confused person I see here is you, if you think you can bully a 78-year-old woman out of her home. She opened her mouth to argue again, but he raised a hand. I am not done. He turned to me with a softer expression. Miss Whitfield, if you feel unsafe at any moment, you call me, day or night. I will come myself. I nodded, trying not to cry. Then he looked at Gideon again. Son, I am disappointed in you. Deeply. You may have broken the law, but worse, you broke your mother's trust. I hope you know how serious this is. Gideon's shoulders slumped. His eyes stayed glued to the floor. The sheriff put his hat back on and walked toward the door. Before he stepped out, he paused and said something that sent a chill through all three of us. I have seen disputes over land. I have seen families torn apart by money. But this right here feels different. Feels like somebody has not told me the full story yet. He looked at Leela, hard. And I intend to find out who. He walked out, closing the door behind him. Silence filled the room, heavy, thick, like a storm settling. I turned slowly toward Gideon and Leela, my voice quiet but firm. Tell me right now, what are you hiding from me? Leela's jaw tightened. Gideon looked sick. Neither of them answered. And then suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. When I pulled it out and saw the caller ID, my heart dropped again. It was the rehabilitation center. Calling me. Again. My dear friend, what do you think they were calling to tell me? My dear friend, when I saw the rehabilitation center calling again, something deep inside me tightened. My hand trembled as I held the phone. It felt like the world had suddenly gone quiet, the way it does right before a storm breaks. Gideon and Leela watched me, both of them stiff and alert, like they were waiting to see if their secret was about to spill out. I answered slowly, "Hello." A familiar voice came through, warm but concerned. "Miss Whitfield, this is Nurse Holloway. Are you safe at home?" Her question made the room feel colder. I looked at my son, then at Leela. Both of them stared at me without blinking. I swallowed hard and said, "Yes, I am home. Why are you calling again?" There was a pause, a heavy one. Then she said something that made the hair rise on the back of my neck. "We have a serious matter we need to discuss with you privately. Is your son with you right now?" My eyes widened. Nurse Holloway had never spoken to me like that before. I glanced at Gideon. He took a small step forward as if he wanted to hear every word coming out of that phone. Leela started packing a little behind him, her fingers tapping fast against her arm. I turned my back to them and walked toward the hallway. I lowered my voice. "Yes, he is here. Why?" The nurse hesitated again. "Miss Whitfield, earlier this week your son requested copies of all your medical records. That is common. Sometimes family needs them, but afterward he also asked for something else, something very unusual." My breath caught. My fingers tightened around the phone. What did he ask for? She spoke slowly, like she wanted to make sure I understood every word. "He asked for an official letter stating that you were no longer able to make decisions for yourself. He wanted us to declare you mentally unfit. He said your memory was gone, that you were confused most days." My heart slammed against my chest. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. My dear friend, imagine hearing someone you love ask strangers to declare you incapable. Imagine finding out they tried to take your voice from you. I whispered, "I never asked for that letter. I never needed it. I am not confused." The nurse sighed, relief in her voice. "I know, that is why we refused. We told him we needed to speak with you directly before we signed anything. He made excuses, said you were too tired to talk. That is why I am calling now, to hear from you personally." My eyes burned. I fought back tears. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you for not agreeing to it." "You are welcome," she said gently. "But Miss Whitfield, there is something else, something you need to know." I waited. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The nurse continued. "He did not just ask for the letter once. He came back 3 days in a row. He insisted. He became upset, pressured us. He said the situation at home was urgent and that you could not make decisions anymore. We began to worry something was wrong." A chill spread across my back. I whispered, "He never told me any of this." "I know," she said softly. "That is why we called the sheriff too. We were afraid you were being taken advantage of." My breath hitched. "The sheriff, you told him?" "Yes, I thought he should be aware before something happened. We were afraid your son might try to move you or force you to sign something. I am sorry if that caused trouble at home." Trouble? That word felt too small for what was happening. I stepped farther down the hallway, lowering my voice even more. "Nurse Holloway, do you think my son was trying to put me in a home permanently?" She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was gentle but firm. "Yes, we believe that is exactly what he was trying to do." My knees weakened. I leaned against the wall. It felt as if years of trust and love were slipping through my fingers like loose sand. Before I could speak again, the nurse added, "Miss Whitfield, we still have concerns. We reviewed your file. Everything shows that you are clear-minded. But your son kept insisting. He said you were forgetting who he was sometimes. He said you kept accusing him of stealing from you." I froze, forgetting who he was. I never said that, accusing him of stealing. He was the one stealing from me. My dear friend, that moment broke something in me. Not my spirit, no, something else, something softer. The part of me that believed a child would never turn against their own mother. I whispered, "I am fine. I know everything. I remember everything. And no, I did not agree to anything he claimed." The nurse's voice softened. "Then we will note that officially. And please, if you feel unsafe, call us too. We care about you." I thanked her and ended the call. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the wall, letting her words sink into me. He asked for a letter to take away my right to make decisions. He went back for it 3 days in a row. He told them lies about my mind. He tried to get my medical records to use them against me. My dear friend, can you imagine that? The boy I raised trying to prove I was not fit to think. Slowly, I turned around and walked back into the living room. Gideon and Leela were standing together, whispering fast. When they saw my face, they fell silent. I looked at Gideon first. My voice was quiet but sharp. "You went to the rehab center, didn't you?" He swallowed. "Yes, Mama, but I can explain." "No," I raised my hand. "You asked them for a letter to declare me unfit." He froze, his eyes flickered. Then he whispered, "Mama, you do not understand. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" I stepped closer. "From what? My own mind, my own life, or from the lies you two were planning?" Leela stepped forward quickly. "You are twisting it. We were worried about you. You kept forgetting things. You were leaving the stove on. You almost fell twice. We were scared for you." I stared at her. I never left a stove on. I never fell twice. Those were lies. Lies she told so my son would fear something that was not true. I said, "What were you planning to do after you got that letter? Put me in a home, sell everything, replace me?" Neither of them said a word. My voice grew stronger. "I deserve the truth, all of it. Tell me what you were planning." Gideon looked at the floor. His voice cracked. "Mama, I thought I could fix things. I got us into a financial mess, and I did not know how to get out. Leela said the only way was to take control of the farm, but we needed to show that you could not manage it anymore. I was going to share profits with you later. I was not trying to hurt you. I was trying to protect the family." Protect the family. Those words made my chest tighten. Leela finally spoke. "You should just let him explain. You are making a big deal out of nothing. This is why we needed that letter, so people would understand why you get emotional." Emotional. That word hit me like a slap. I took a step toward her. "You went behind my back. You moved into my home. You took my land. You told strangers that I was losing my mind. And now you call me emotional." She smirked. "You are proving my point." My dear friend, I cannot explain what happened inside me right then. It was like every year of raising my son, every moment of sacrifice, every morning I worked the fields, every night I prayed for my family lit a fire inside me. I lifted my chin. "Get out of my house." Leela blinked. "What?" I said it louder. "Get out of my house." She stared at me, then laughed a little. "You cannot make us leave. This property is in my name now." "Not anymore," I said. "The sheriff froze it. You cannot sell it. You cannot move me. You cannot move anything. And until they finish their investigation, you do not control a single thing." Her mouth tightened, her face twisted. But before she could speak, I turned to my son. "And you, Gideon, If you have anything left inside you that remembers who you are, you will tell me the truth right now, all of it, because the sheriff believes there is more, and so do I." Gideon opened his mouth, closed it, his eyes filled with tears. I asked him one more question, the one that had been sitting in my chest from the moment I walked into my home. "What did you really need the money for, Gideon?" His face crumpled. But before he could answer, Leela grabbed his arm and snapped, "Do not say a word." I stepped back, shocked, and then something dawned on me, something I should have seen sooner. I whispered, "Gideon, is she controlling you?" He looked at me, eyes full of pain. Before he could speak, Leela shouted, "Enough. We are done here. You either leave peacefully or we will make sure you are removed legally." I stared at her, cold, silent, stronger than I had felt in years. And then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife, something happened. There was a sound, a soft vibration. Gideon's phone lit up. A message appeared on the screen. Leela saw it first. Her face froze, then turned pale. I read the name on the notification. And my dear friend, it was a name I had never heard before. A name that changed everything. A name that made me realize there was a secret much bigger than the farm. Bigger than the forged signature. Bigger than the lies. The text read, "We need the rest of the money today. Do not make me come to the house." My dear friend, the moment I saw that message pop up on Gideon's phone, it felt like the whole world stopped. The name on the screen meant nothing to me, but the words underneath it meant everything. "We need the rest of the money today. Do not make me come to the house." Come to the house? For what? For who? Why would anyone be coming to my home, demanding money from my son? Gideon lunged forward to grab his phone, but Leela was faster. She snatched it out of his hand, her eyes wide and wild as she read the message. For a second, she looked like a trapped animal. Then she hissed at him under her breath, "Why did you let your phone out? I told you to keep it locked." Gideon's voice cracked. I forgot. I did not think she would see. I stepped closer, my heart beating hard. A stranger was threatening my son, threatening us, and clearly this was no small matter. My dear friend, when a person says, "Do not make me come to the house," that is not a friendly reminder. That is a promise, a threat. I looked between them. Who is that? What money are they talking about? What did you get yourselves into? Leela ignored me and shoved the phone into her pocket. "No one. It is nothing. Just spam. Wrong number." Spam, wrong number. My dear friend, Americans may fall for many things, but that was not one of them. Spam messages do not demand the rest of the payment today, and spam does not threaten to show up at your door. I shook my head slowly. Stop lying. I may be old, but I am not a fool. I want the truth, right now. Gideon's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. His voice trembled. "Mama, please, you do not understand. It is complicated." Everything in my chest tightened. I reached out and held his arm. "Son, I cannot help you if you do not tell me the truth." Leela grabbed his other arm, pulling him away from me. "Do not say another word, Gideon. She does not get it. She is just going to make it worse." I snapped my eyes to her. "You keep talking like I am some burden you can push aside. But I am done listening to your lies." Gideon's voice broke. "Mama, you should not be here for this. You should have stayed at the rehab center." There it was again. That phrase, that plan, that expectation that if I were tucked away somewhere behind locked doors, they could handle whatever mess they had created. I crossed my arms. "Tell me what you did." Leela rolled her eyes. "He does not owe you anything. He is a grown man. He has his own life, his own choices." I stared at her, and his own debts. Her face twitched, just a little, but enough. I pressed the question harder. Is that what this is about? Debt. Gideon collapsed into one of the dining chairs, burying his face in his hands. Leela glared at him, furious. Do not tell her anything. He whispered through his fingers. She already knows too much. Leela's voice rose. Then shut your mouth before you ruin everything. Everything. There was that word again. Everything. I wanted to scream, cry, shake both of them until the truth poured out. But instead, I took a slow breath and sat down across from my son. Tell me, I said softly, please. He lifted his face. Tears streaked his cheeks. Mama, I messed up, and I mean really messed up. My voice shook. With what? He looked at Leela. She looked away. I leaned forward. Son, with what? He swallowed hard. I took a loan. I felt my stomach drop. What kind of loan? He looked down again, not from a bank. My dear friend, the moment he said those words, I felt fear curl around my spine like cold fingers. Because in small towns, when people say they did not get the loan from a bank, it usually means something dangerous, something illegal, something tied to people who do not care about your excuses. I whispered, who did you borrow money from? His voice cracked. A man named Carter. Before I could respond, Leela snapped, he is not dangerous if you pay him on time. This is all temporary. If you had stayed in rehab like we told you, we would have had time to fix it. Her words made my jaw tighten. You expected me to be gone longer so you could use my home to pay this man back. Neither of them spoke. Silence is also an answer. I stood up slowly, my heart pounding but my voice steady. You sold my farm to pay a criminal. Gideon jumped up. Mama, I did not know he was that bad. I thought he was just a guy helping people who were behind on bills. He seemed honest at first. He gave me money fast, too fast. And when he came for the first payment, the interest was higher than I thought. Higher? How much higher? He whispered the number. I will not repeat it here, my dear friend, but let me tell you this, it was 3 times what he borrowed. And that was only the first payment. I held my chest, my breath locked inside me. That was more money than we ever saw in one season on the farm. Gideon kept talking, voice shaking. I tried to pay. I did. But I fell behind again. And he said if I did not get him the full amount soon, he would take something else as payment. I whispered, what does that mean? Gideon looked at me with eyes full of fear. He said he would take the farm, or the equipment, or he stopped. Or what? I demanded, or what? Gideon wiped his face, or he would make sure someone in this family got hurt. My knees gave out. I grabbed the back of a chair to keep myself standing. Leela threw her hands up. This is why we needed everything in my name. Carter said he wanted property, not excuses. If I owned the farm, he would leave us alone once the money was paid. It is not my fault you came home early. Not your fault. My dear friend, imagine hearing the woman who stole your home say it is not her fault you returned too soon. My voice shook with anger. You think you can fix this by taking everything from me? Leela crossed her arms. It is better than someone breaking into this house, or worse. I looked at my son and I could see it all over him. Shame, regret, fear, but under all that, love, buried deep but still alive. I touched his shoulder. Gideon, why did you not come to me? Why lie? Why hide this? His voice was barely a whisper, because I did not want you to see me like this. I did not want you to know how bad things got. I thought I could fix it and protect you. Tears filled my eyes. Son, protecting me does not involve destroying the life I built. He nodded, crying. I know, I messed up everything. Leela pulled him back. Enough. Do not let her guilt trip you. She is not the one Carter is after. She is safe. This is our problem. I turned slowly to her, my voice low. If it is your problem, then why did you take my farm? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time, she seemed unsure, unsteady, angry, yes, but also scared. Then suddenly, a sound shattered the tense quiet. A vehicle pulling into the driveway. Slow, heavy. Gravel crunching under the tires. Leela's face went pale. Gideon froze. I felt cold from head to toe. We all turned toward the window. A black truck rolled to a stop by the fence. A man stepped out. Tall, broad shoulders. Dark jacket. Slow steps. And he reached into his pocket for something. My dear friend, I have lived almost 80 years, and I know danger when I see it. That man was not here for a friendly visit. Leela gasped, "It is him. It is Carter." Gideon whispered, "Oh no, not today, not now." I backed away from the window, my heart pounding so loud I thought he might hear it through the walls. Carter walked toward the porch. Not rushing. Not hesitating. Moving like a man who already owned the house. And then, he knocked. Once. Twice. 3 times. Slow. Deep. Echoing through the entire house. He called out a single sentence. "Open the door. We need to finish our business." My dear friend, when that knock echoed through the house, it felt like the walls themselves were trembling. I stood there frozen, my hand still gripping the back of the chair. Gideon looked like a boy again, scared and helpless. And Leela, her face drained of color as if every lie she had ever told had finally come knocking to collect its price. The man outside knocked again. Slow, heavy, a sound that felt like it was cutting right through the wood of the door and into our bones. Gideon whispered, "Mama, go to your room. Please, do not come out." I shook my head. My voice was firm. I am not hiding in my own house. Leela grabbed his arm. "Do not open the door. Not until we have a plan. We need to stall him or something." Stall him? My dear friend, how do you stall a man who has come to take what he believes is already his? The knocking stopped. Everything went quiet. Too quiet. Then we heard footsteps on the porch. Slow, heavy, pausing right by the windows as if he was looking inside. I felt my heart pounding so loudly it hurt. Gideon whispered, "Mama, if he sees you, he will know you are back. That will make things worse. Please just listen to me this once." But something inside me had changed. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the realization that everything I had worked for my whole life had been placed in the hands of a criminal because my son felt too ashamed to ask for help. And maybe, just maybe, I was tired of being treated like a fragile old woman. I took a slow step forward. Leela hissed, "Are you insane? If he sees you, he will use you against us. Do you think he cares that you are old?" I turned to her. "I do not care what he thinks. This is my home." Before she could argue, 3 loud knocks hit the door again. Stronger this time, more demanding. Then a voice, deep, calm, almost polite, but dangerous in a way that made your stomach twist. "Open the door. I am not here for trouble. I just want what I am owed." My dear friend, danger is never louder. It is calm, quiet, patient. Gideon finally moved, walking toward the door with trembling hands. Leela grabbed his sleeve. "Wait, let me talk. He likes me better." I stared at her. "Of course he does," I said softly. "You are the one who offered him my farm." She snapped around to face me. "You do not understand how serious this is. If we do not pay him today, he will take something bigger than the farm." I stepped closer. "And whose fault is that?" She glared at me, but she had no answer. Gideon unlocked the door. Leela gasped. Gideon, no. He opened it just a crack at first, then wider, revealing the man standing outside. And my dear friend, the moment I saw him, I understood everything. He was not loud, not wild, not out of control. He was calm, too calm. A tall man, maybe in his late 40s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing and a face that did not change even when he smiled. And yes, he smiled, but not a warm smile, not a friendly one. It was the kind of smile wolves give sheep. He tipped his head at Gideon. Afternoon. I was beginning to think you were hiding from me. Gideon swallowed hard. No, sir, I am here. I am not hiding. The man, Carter, glanced past him into the house. His eyes landed on me almost immediately. And his smile grew wider. Well now, he said, I was not expecting to meet the lady of the house. I stood tall. Sir, this is my property, and you are standing on my porch. He looked at me with interest, as if I were a piece of information he had not planned on, but found useful. So you are the mother, he said, the original owner of the farm. My stomach tightened. The word original sounded like an insult, like someone saying you used to matter, but not anymore. He leaned against the doorframe. You were supposed to be in recovery a little longer. That is what I was told. Recovery. There it was again. The lie, they used to take what was mine. I felt heat rising in my chest. My dear friend, anger in old age is different. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is deep, quiet, sharp as a blade. I crossed my arms. I came home early, and I do not recall inviting you here. Leela rushed forward. Carter, please, just listen. We can get you the rest. We just need a little more time. She was not supposed to be back yet. He raised a hand, silencing her. I am not talking to you. I am talking to her. To the real owner. My breath caught. I did not trust that tone, not even a little. He looked me in the eye. Your son owes me money, a lot of money. And when people owe me, they pay one way or another. Property is fine. Money is better. I stared at him. And what do you expect from me? He smirked. Well, that depends. Are you here to pay or to get in the way? Leela stepped between us. She is old. She cannot help you. This is between you and us. Carter's eyes hardened. Wrong. When a debt gets this big, it becomes a family problem. He took one step inside the doorway. Not fully. Just enough to make it clear he believed he had the right. Gideon raised his hand. Sir, please do not come inside. We are going to figure this out. Just not today. I do not want any trouble. Carter looked at him with a smile that made my skin crawl. Trouble is what people get when they make me wait. My dear friend, the air in that hallway turned cold. The kind of cold that does not come from weather, but from fear. He looked around slowly, taking in every corner of the room. Then he said something so quiet and so calm that it made my heart stop. Tick-tock, you have until tonight. Tonight. Not next week. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Then he turned those sharp eyes on me. A woman your age should not be stressed like this. Maybe you should convince your son to do the right thing before things get messy. I felt heat rise in my chest, my voice low, steady. You are threatening my family and my home. He shrugged. I am stating facts. If I do not get my money, I take the property. If that does not cover it, I take more. He stepped back onto the porch and adjusted his jacket. See you at sunset. And then he walked away, slow, confident, like a man who had already decided how the night would end. The moment his truck pulled out of the driveway, Gideon collapsed to his knees, crying. Leela started packing, grabbing her head with both hands. And me. I stood there, staring at the door, feeling a storm rising inside me like I had not felt in years. My dear friend, I did not know how, and I did not know what I would face. But I knew one thing for sure. I was not going to let that man take my home. Not today. Not ever. What I did next changed everything. My dear friend, after Carter drove away, the house felt different. The air was thicker. The shadows felt longer. Even the floor beneath my feet seemed to hum with fear. But fear can only control you if you let it. And that day, standing in my own living room, watching my son break down and my daughter-in-law run in circles, something fierce awakened inside me. Not anger. Not revenge. Something deeper. A promise to myself. A promise that I would fight for what was mine. Gideon knelt on the floor, sobbing into his hands. I had not seen him cry like that since he was a little boy and he lost his favorite dog to a neighbor's truck. Seeing him like this pulled at something tender inside me. I walked over and placed my hand on his back. "Son, look at me." He shook his head. "Mama, I ruined everything. Everything. I cannot fix this. I cannot fix it." "You can," I said softly, "but not alone, and not like this." Leela was packing so fast she looked dizzy. She kept mumbling, "This cannot be happening. Not today, not now. Why did she come back early? Why today?" I turned my eyes toward her. "That is enough. Stop blaming me for what you and my son caused." She spun around, hands shaking. "You do not understand what Carter can do. If we do not pay tonight, he will come back. And next time he will not just talk, he will take the house. Or start breaking things, or worse." I faced her directly. "Then tell the truth. Why did you let this happen?" She clenched her jaw. "That is Gideon's business, not mine." He finally lifted his head. "No, Leela, it is both of us. She deserves to know." My dear friend, the truth that came out next was a truth I never expected. A truth that made the ground under my feet tilt. Gideon wiped his face. "I did not take that loan alone. Leela was part of it. She told me it was the only way to save our bills when she lost her job. She said Carter was helpful, that he worked fast. She said he was safe." Leela's eyes widened. "Gideon, stop it. That is not what happened." He shook his head. "No, I am tired of lying. Mama deserves to know who put this family in danger." Leela marched toward him. "I lost my job because I was trying to help you. I did everything for this family. And what do I get? A broken-down farm, an old woman returning home too early, and a man at the door demanding blood money." Her words stung, but not because they were true. Because they were filled with bitterness, not truth. I stepped forward. "You lost your job because you kept secrets. And secrets do not stay hidden forever." Leela turned toward me, face red with anger. "You think you know everything because you are old. You do not know how hard it is to survive these days. You think your farm could have saved us. It barely covered groceries last winter." Her voice shook with frustration, but underneath it, I sensed something else. Fear, shame, and a desperate need to place blame anywhere but on herself. I kept my voice calm. "I survived things you cannot imagine. I built this farm from nothing. I raised a boy alone. I fought through storms, sickness, and a world that did not believe in single mothers back then. Do not talk to me about survival, Leela." For once, she had no reply. Gideon stood up slowly, leaning against the table as he wiped his tears. "Mama, I took the loan because I was scared. I did not want you to know how far behind we were. I did not want you to think I failed. I did not want you to worry." My heart softened. I cupped his cheek. "Oh, Gideon, you are still that little boy wanting to protect me, but protection built on lies always leads to destruction." He nodded slowly. "I know that now." The room finally quieted, but outside the window, The sun was beginning to move toward the horizon. Sunset. The deadline. We had only hours left. I straightened my shoulders. All right, we are going to fix this, but we are not going to do it by running or hiding. We are going to stand tall. This is my home, and no man is going to take it from me. Leela crossed her arms. And how exactly are we doing that? We do not have money. We barely have anything left in savings. I looked her right in the eyes. Then we find another way. Her face twisted with disbelief. Another way? Like what? Magic? No, I said, the truth. Gideon frowned. What do you mean? I turned and walked toward the hallway. Come with me. They followed, confused and arguing quietly. I opened the closet near the stairs and pulled down a dusty old metal box, one my husband used for important documents before he passed away. Leela scoffed. A box? Really? That box is not going to save us from Carter. I ignored her and placed the box on the dining table. My hands trembled a little as I unlocked it with an old key I kept in my apron pocket. Inside were old papers, letters, deeds, and small envelopes tied with twine. Gideon leaned closer. Mama, what is this? I took out the oldest envelope. Your father was not perfect, but he was wise. Years ago, he warned me never to put all my land in one place, never trust a single document, never rely on one copy. I spread several papers across the table. Deeds, maps, proof of ownership, proof the land was mine long before any signature was forged or tricked away. Gideon whispered, Mama, these are duplicates. No, I said quietly, these are originals, the ones I never touched, the ones no one knew existed. Leela's face twisted. That is impossible. I filed everything myself. I saw the documents. I looked at her calmly. You saw what I wanted you to see. Her mouth fell open. My dear friend, sometimes being old means people underestimate you. They think your mind is slow. They think you forget. But old age is not weakness. It is experience. I placed my hand on the stack of papers. These prove the farm always belonged to me. Even if you put your name on some other document, these show otherwise. Gideon stared at me like he had never seen me before. Mama, why did you keep these hidden? I looked at him gently. For a day like this one. Leela's face paled again. So what? You think Carter is going to care about some papers? He wants money, not paperwork. He will care, I said, but not because of the papers. Gideon stepped closer. Mama, what are you planning? I looked out the window, toward the driveway where Carter had stood. I am going to talk to him. Leela gasped. What? Are you insane? That man is dangerous. I turned to her, and I am 80 years old. What is he going to do to me? Push me? Yell at me? I have survived worse. Gideon grabbed my arm. Mama, no, I cannot let you face him alone. You will not, I said firmly, but I am leading this fight, not because I want revenge, but because I am tired of being treated like I am already gone. The sun dropped lower. The shadows stretched longer, and the fear in the house thickened. Then I said the words that surprised them both. I know how to stop Carter. But you too, you are not going to like it. They stared at me, waiting. And oh, my dear friend. What I was about to do next would make the entire house explode with chaos. My dear friend, when I told them I knew how to stop Carter, the entire room fell silent. Gideon looked confused and scared. Leela looked like she was seconds away from shouting again. But I stayed calm. Sometimes calmness is scarier than anger, especially when it comes from a woman who has held every broken piece of her life together for decades. Gideon finally spoke. Mama, what do you mean you know how to stop him? I took a slow breath. I am going to give him something he wants even more than money. Leela burst out laughing, but it was a nervous, sharp laugh. What could you possibly have that a man like Carter wants more than cash? You do not even have a working phone most days. I turned to her. You talk too much when you are scared. She closed her mouth quickly, but her eyes were still burning with panic. Gideon stepped closer. Mama, I need you to explain, please. I glanced at the metal box on the table. My dear friend, inside that box were more than just deeds. There were letters, proofs, agreements, and things my late husband collected long before he died. Some were connected to land, some to taxes, some to something much deeper, something I never imagined would matter again. Until now. I pulled out one folder and placed it gently on the table. This is what he wants, or at least what the people above him want. Leela frowned. People above him. What does that mean? I opened the folder. Carter does not work alone. These papers prove he has been taking land from desperate families all across this county. Families who fell behind. Families who trusted him. This is part of a bigger operation. One that the sheriff would be very interested in. Gideon's voice shook. Mama, how long have you known about this? I looked down at the folder, tracing the edges with my finger. My husband once borrowed money from Carter's people. Many years ago, before Gideon was even born. They tried to take our land back then too, but your father changed his mind and fought back. He gathered proof. He recorded things. He made sure that if they ever tried it again, he would not fight alone. Leela whispered, "This cannot be real." I looked at her calmly. That is what evil people want you to think. They want you to feel helpless. Gideon stared at the papers. So, you are going to threaten him? No, I said firmly. Threats make men like him violent. I am going to offer him a choice, one that removes this house from his mind forever. Leela put her hands on her hips. What choice? I closed the folder and slid it into my purse. Either he leaves us alone, or he deals with the law. Gideon grabbed my hand. Mama, that is dangerous. Everything we have faced today is dangerous, I said, and I am tired of being scared in my own home. But even as I spoke those brave words, my dear friend, I felt the tremble in my bones. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing up even while you are shaking. I looked at both of them. When Carter comes back at sunset, I will be the one to speak to him. You two stay behind me. Say nothing unless I tell you to. Leela rolled her eyes. And what? You're going to walk out there like some kind of hero. I stared at her. Yes, that is exactly what I am going to do. The disbelief on her face almost made me smile. Gideon shook his head. Mama, please do not do this. Please, I cannot lose you. I touched his cheek gently. Son, if I do nothing, you will lose this home. You will lose everything. And I will not stand by and watch the past repeat itself. He closed his eyes. His tears fell, but he nodded slowly. We spent the next hour preparing the house, closing curtains, locking back doors, turning off lights, not because I planned to hide, but because I planned to protect them if things went wrong. Leela followed me anxiously. Do you really think he will just walk away? No, I said. Men like him never walk away easily. But they do walk away when they realize they are the hunted, not the hunters. She blinked. And what are you? I paused, a mother. The last word hung in the air like smoke. Outside, the sky had begun to darken. The sun was dipping behind the trees, the kind of sunset that made the whole world look like it was glowing orange. Time was almost up. Gideon touched my shoulder. Mama, he is coming. I walked to the window. A truck turned down the long dirt road leading to the house. The same black truck, the same slow rumble, the same heavy tires crushing the gravel. My dear friend, the moment I saw those headlights creeping toward my home, I felt something ancient inside me rise, a strength I had not felt in years. I turned to my son and his wife. Stay behind me, no matter what happens. The truck stopped, the engine went silent, the door opened. Carter stepped out. He looked even more dangerous in the fading light. His jacket was darker, his expression colder, his shadow longer. But I stood my ground. Gideon whispered, "Mama, he looks angry." "Good, angry men make mistakes." Carter walked closer, his boots slow on the gravel. He stopped at the bottom of the porch steps and spoke without smiling. "It is sunset. Where is my money?" I opened the door and stepped outside. And for the first time today, Carter looked surprised. I held my purse tight, squared my shoulders, and stared him straight in the eye. And then I said the words that shifted everything. "Carter, you are not getting a single dollar from this family. Not today, not ever." His eyes narrowed. "Excuse me." I stepped 1 foot closer. "You heard me." He took a step forward too. "Lady, I do not think you understand who you are talking to." I raised the folder. "Oh, I do, and I know who you are working for, and I have proof of everything." His face changed. For the first time, he looked afraid. "My dear friend, just when I thought I had the upper hand, something happened that none of us were ready for. Something that made Leela gasp. Something that made Gideon freeze. Something that made my heart nearly stop. Another truck turned onto the property. Not black. Not familiar. A different one. And when it parked right beside Carter's truck, the man who stepped out made Carter go pale. Carter whispered one word under his breath. "No." I whispered, "Who is that?" He swallowed hard. "That is my boss." My dear friend, the moment that second truck pulled onto the property, the entire world seemed to tilt. The air changed. The silence grew heavy, like the sky itself was holding its breath. Even the birds in the trees went quiet. Carter, the man who had been so calm, so confident, so threatening earlier, suddenly looked like a frightened child. His shoulders tensed. His hands shook slightly, his eyes fixed on the man climbing out of the truck. I had never seen fear like that on a grown man's face. The door opened, and the second man stepped out. He was older than Carter, maybe in his late 50s, broad shoulders, clean boots, a face carved with years of control and power. He did not rush, he did not glare, he did not smile. He simply walked toward us with the calmness of someone who knew everything belonged to him. Carter whispered, "That is Mr. Donovan." I whispered back, "And who is that?" Carter did not answer. He could not. His voice was frozen. Mr. Donovan reached the porch and stopped right in front of me. Not too close, not too far. His eyes were sharp, and they scanned my face with an unsettling interest. He tipped his head just a little, as if studying me the way a hawk studies a rabbit. "So," he said calmly, "you must be the mother." His voice was smooth, almost polite. And that, my dear friend, was what scared me the most. Politeness from dangerous men is never kindness. It is warning. I lifted my chin. "That is right, and this is my home." He nodded slowly. "Yes, that is what I heard." Carter stayed behind him, tense as a wire. He kept glancing at me, at Donovan, then at the folder in my hand. His fear was growing by the second. Mr. Donovan looked at Carter. "You did not tell me she returned early." Carter swallowed hard. I did not know until today, sir." Mr. Donovan's voice stayed calm. "And you did not tell me that she had documents." "Documents?" The word echoed across the porch. He turned those sharp eyes back to me. "May I see them?" I held the folder against my chest. "No." He blinked slowly. Most people say yes. I stood my ground. I am not most people. A small smirk touched the corner of his mouth. For the first time, he looked amused, not kind, not friendly, but amused in a way that told me I had just surprised him. Very well, he said. Then tell me what you think you have. I tightened my grip on the papers. Proof that your man here has been taking advantage of families all across this county. Proof of land transfers that were forced, not chosen. Proof of loans with illegal interest rates. Proof that could shut this entire thing down. Gideon whispered behind me, "Mama." But I raised my hand slightly to silence him. I was not backing down. Not now, not after everything. Mr. Donovan's expression did not change. Not anger, not fear, not surprise. Nothing. He simply watched me the way a chess master watches a player make a bold move. Finally, he said, "You are a brave woman." I shook my head. "No, I am a mother, that is all." He nodded slowly, and a mother can be the most dangerous opponent of all. His words sent a chill through my chest, but I did not move. Behind me, Leela clung to Gideon's arm, trembling. She whispered over and over, "This is bad. This is bad. This is really bad. He is worse than Carter." Mr. Donovan turned his head slightly, just enough to look at Carter. "You told me this family would fold quickly, that the papers were clean, that the mother was incapacitated." Carter's voice shook. "Sir, I thought she would be gone longer. I thought the documents were enough. I did not expect her to have duplicates or proof." Mr. Donovan's jaw tightened a fraction of an inch. "I do not like surprises, Carter." Carter bowed his head. "I know, sir." Then Mr. Donovan turned back to me. "May I ask you something, Mrs. Halston?" I nodded once. "Why did you not use these documents earlier? Why keep them hidden?" I took a deep breath, because I hoped my son would come to me before things got this bad, and because I learned a long time ago that people reveal their true intentions when they think you are powerless. I wanted to see who I was dealing with. He raised his eyebrows slightly. "And what did you find?" I looked him straight in the eyes. Men who take what is not theirs, men who prey on fear, men who think an old woman cannot fight back. That small, unsettling smirk appeared again. "You are not afraid of me." I felt my voice steady. "I am 83 years old. I have lived through more storms than you have years of business. What can you do to me? Scare me? Take my land? Kill me? I have buried a husband. I have buried siblings. I have worked fields in winter so cold they cracked the skin on my hands. I am not afraid of you or anyone like you." For a moment, the porch was completely silent. Gideon wiped his eyes. Leela held her breath. Even Carter seemed stunned. Finally, Mr. Donovan spoke. "You are a remarkable woman." He said it softly, almost respectfully. But his next words twisted everything. "However, this is not about you." My stomach tightened. What does that mean? He gestured toward my son. "It is about him. He took the loan. He signed the agreements. He made the promises." Gideon stepped forward. "Sir, please, I know I messed up. I will pay you, I just need time." Mr. Donovan raised a hand. Silence. Gideon froze. Then the man spoke again, calmly, almost kindly. "Mrs. Halston, I want to make you an offer." My breath caught. "An offer?" He nodded. "Yes, one that will protect your home, your land, and your family." I narrowed my eyes. "And what kind of offer is that?" He took one step closer, just one, not threatening, not aggressive, but confident. The kind of step that changes everything. "I will forgive your son's debt," he said. "Wipe it clean. No repayment required. And I will never come after this home again." Leela gasped. Gideon's knees almost buckled. I stared at him, and in exchange. He smiled softly. You give me the folder. The porch went silent. My dear friend, my heart pounded so loudly I thought the whole world could hear it, because I knew exactly what he was asking. That folder did not just hold our survival. It held proof of other families he had hurt. It held evidence of crimes. It held everything. And if I gave it to him, he would burn it, destroy it, erase every trace, and keep hurting people. I did not speak for a long moment. I could feel Gideon trembling behind me. I could hear Leela's sharp breath. I could see Carter staring at the folder like it held his future. Then Mr. Donovan asked quietly, Well, Mrs. Halston, do we have a deal? My dear friend. What I said next shocked everyone, even myself. My dear friend, the moment Mr. Donovan asked me if we had a deal, time slowed down. I could feel my heartbeat echoing in my ears. The whole world seemed to wait for my answer. Even the wind paused between the trees, as if it wanted to hear what I would say. I looked at him, this powerful man, calm, controlled, dangerous. A man who was offering to save my land, my son, and my peace in exchange for the truth of what he had done to so many families. My dear friend, let me tell you something from my old heart. Sometimes, life places you in moments where you must decide the kind of person you want to be. You can choose fear, or you can choose what is right. So I took a deep breath and said, No. Gideon gasped. Leela covered her mouth. Even Carter whispered, Oh no. Mr. Donovan blinked, just once, slowly, as if he did not understand the meaning of the word. When he finally spoke, his voice was almost gentle. Mrs. Halston, perhaps you did not understand. I said I would forgive everything. You would get your home back, your farm, your peace, all of it, no cost. I nodded, I heard you, and the answer is still no. His eyes sharpened, but his tone remained even. This is not wise. I held the folder tighter. Wisdom is not the same as fear. I will not sacrifice other families to save my own. Your offer ends the pain for us, but it keeps it alive for everyone else. I will not do that. For the first time, Mr. Donovan's face changed. Not anger, but surprise. Genuine surprise, maybe even confusion, as if he could not understand a world where someone rejected a solution that benefited themselves. He studied me for a long moment, and then he asked, Why are you doing this? I looked at my son, my once strong boy who had become lost. I looked at Leela, who had been trying to hold the pieces together. Then I looked back at the man in front of me. Because I want my family to stand. Not to hide, not to run, to stand. Silence fell so heavy it pressed on all our chests. Carter shifted nervously. He whispered, Sir, we can take the folder by force. She is an old woman. Before he could take another breath, Mr. Donovan turned and slapped him across the face with the back of his hand. The hit echoed across the porch. Carter stumbled and held his cheek, eyes wide. Mr. Donovan spoke in a low, cold voice. Do not insult her age. Carter trembled. Yes, sir. Then Mr. Donovan looked at me again. His tone softened, but his eyes stayed sharp. Mrs. Halston, I respect your courage, truly, but courage does not change the law. Your son is still in debt. This property is still under contract, and you holding that folder does not undo anything. I nodded calmly. You are right, but I do not need to undo anything. I only need one thing. He raised an eyebrow. And what is that? For the truth to come to light. As I said that, a truck came up the road. Not one of theirs, a familiar one. Old, quiet, slow. Sheriff Warren. His lights were not flashing. He was not rushing. He stepped out of the truck with a calmness so steady it felt like the earth itself had arrived to help me. His boots crunched the gravel as he approached. He tipped his hat to me. "Afternoon, Martha." I nodded. "Afternoon, Sheriff." Mr. Donovan watched him carefully. "Sheriff Warren, this is a private matter." The sheriff looked at him without blinking. "You have a lot of private matters, Donovan." Then he looked at me. "You ready?" I held up the folder. "Yes, I am ready." Mr. Donovan's jaw tightened. "What is this?" The sheriff folded his hands behind his back. "You see, Donovan, Martha came to me last night. She told me everything. She showed me every paper, every signature, every strange loan, every forced sale, and I have been busy since sunrise. I sent copies to the state office, to the county judge, to the land commission, and to the attorney general's office." Carter nearly fell over. "Sir, those offices, they will open investigations." The sheriff nodded. "They already did." For the first time, Mr. Donovan's calm cracked, just a little. His chest rose higher. His breath came quicker. His eyes narrowed. He looked at me. "You went to the sheriff." I shook my head, not just him. I went to everyone. He stared at me. "You planned this." I gave a small smile. I had 83 years to learn how to fight without raising my voice. Sheriff Warren stepped closer. "Donovan, your operation is done. You and your man here need to come with me." Carter, trembling, whispered, "Sir, what do we do?" Mr. Donovan closed his eyes for a brief moment, then opened them slowly. He looked at me, and there was something new in his eyes, not anger, not fear. "Respect." He said quietly, "You won today, Mrs. Halston." I corrected him softly. "No, the truth won." He nodded slightly, then let the sheriff take his hands and place them behind his back. As the sheriff walked them to the truck, Gideon collapsed to his knees and cried into his hands. Leela dropped beside him, holding him, shaking with relief. I walked down the steps and placed my hand on my son's head. He looked up at me, tears running down his cheeks. "Mama, I am so sorry. I ruined everything." I wiped a tear from his cheek. "No, son, you lost your way, but we found it again. That is what matters." He buried his face against my lap, like he was a little boy again. Leela hugged me tightly. "Thank you for not giving up on us." I held her close. Family is not something you sell. It is something you protect. The sheriff returned and handed me a paper. "The judge signed this. Your land is safe. Permanently." I held the paper to my chest. My home was mine again. As the sun began to set, my dear friend, I stood on that porch where everything had fallen apart, and I realized something. Winning does not always look like revenge. Sometimes it looks like truth. Sometimes it looks like healing. Sometimes it looks like a mother standing up when everyone expects her to fall. I looked at the camera in my mind, just as if you were sitting right here with me on this porch, and I said, "My dear friend, learn from me. Protect your family, protect your home, and never let fear make decisions for you. If it were you standing here, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments. I want to know." And if you want more stories full of strength, heart, and life, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story. Until next time, stay strong, my friend.